Welcome to the Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical, and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.
Hey, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, and today, this is Tuesday, so this is going out on Mintwave Radio. Today's episode is 192, and today we have Steve Bacon, and he is a life coach, and we're going to be talking about designing and living your dream life. I'm your host, Karen Roberts, helping coaches and therapists to get their message heard to the people who actually need to hear it. Now, Steve is a world-renowned master life coach. He found his calling as a life coach after becoming a successful entrepreneur. He felt a deep, passionate calling for making a difference in other people's lives and in his larger community. Now, to help understand his calling, Steve became a student of the world, learning and digesting teachings from some of the greatest teachers and coaches that the world had to offer. He spent the last 17 years sharing his learnings and helping busy and successful entrepreneurs, executives, and celebrities to create balance in their life and reach the next level of success, both professionally and personally. He's founded the community-orientated coaching group Belief Theory in 2015. And Belief Theory has used group coaching programs to coach state and local governments, nonprofits, and Fortune 500 sales teams. So welcome to the show, Steve.
Hello. What an intro. Man.
There you go. That is a fascinating intro. Thank you for being here. You've done a lot. So if you'd like to share with the listeners a little bit more in depth as to your journey, how you came to be doing what you're currently doing.
Yeah. So first of all, it's an honor to be here. And I love the UK. I just got a chance to spend a week or be there a week ago and got to see all the monuments and ride all the rides. Absolutely loved it. Can't wait to go back.
You were lucky you had decent weather because normally it's pretty grey.
We did. And it was sunny. And I took this one particular picture in front of the Palace of Westminster and that bridge that's there that's usually very busy. My wife happened to catch a photo where the entire bridge was empty, for a split second. So everybody's looking at the picture going, where's all the cars and the buses and the people? And I'm like, she just happened to capture it at the right moment. So it looks like the entire bridge was cleared out for me. So it was amazing.
Wow. Brilliant. The Houses of Parliament. Yes, very old building, very old building. Don't ask me because I'm not really too hot in my history.
About my journey, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. So I was actually born in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area in California in 1984 as the crack epidemic had just started. And unfortunately, my mom got addicted to crack about 6 months after I was born. And so as a result of that, I grew up in crack houses and stuff like that. The first 8 years of my life, I went to 14 different schools growing up. I was molested as a kid, almost kidnapped, held ransom by a drug dealer for a moment. Then I met my father when I was 8. We had a very contentious, abusive relationship till I was 14. And I threatened to kill him. And then he sent me back to live with my grandmother. And then at 17, I went to the military to get away from all the trauma, married the first girl who said she loved me, physically, mentally, emotionally abused her until she got the courage to leave, then took a loaded gun, put it in my mouth, pulled the trigger out of depression. The only thing that saved me was God. Realized that I didn't want to die, but I just didn't know how to live. So I started drinking to get drunk, then got in trouble, that ended up in anger management, and then ended up a convicted felon, ruined my military career, became homeless, married the second girl who said she loved me, just to repeat the same process all before the age 20.
Wow. Now
that was the first 20 years of my life.
Now that was a lot going on in the first 20 years.
Absolutely. And it was right around that time where I met this guy named Hank, who, God bless him, took me under his wing, introduced me to personal development, And no matter how disrespectful I was, he metaphorically held my hand and didn't let go for a whole year and a half, almost 2 years. And he started shoving books down my throat, like Think and Grow Rich and Tony Robbins stuff and Bob Proctor stuff and Jim Rohn stuff and taking me to conferences. And that sparked a magnificent obsession with human development because I wanted to know why I was the way I was. And I spent most of my life trying to not live the way that a lot of my family lived, in and out of jail, drugs, that type of thing, baby mamas, all that stuff. But then I found myself in the same situation and I'm like, where do I go from here? So that's where I got introduced to entrepreneurism. They said that your business will grow as a result of the type of person and how much you grow as a person. So that became my magnificent obsession. And now today, 18 years later, I'm married to my best friend who I've never laid a hand on. I travel the world. I built a $500,000 a year coaching business, author of 2 books, speaking engagements. Like I'd run retreats helping people heal in hours, what takes them years in therapy. I help people figure out what is the life that they want to design, then overcome all the doubt, worry, and fear, and trash, and dogma, and indoctrination that was taught to them as a kid so that they can actually be free and live the life that they desire to live, guilt-free, shame-free, worry-free. And it's been a fucking awesome ride. So
Love it. Wow, your whole life is really testament to that because you're born, right?
Yeah.
You don't pass a test.
Yeah.
To, okay, you're a better baby than that baby. So we're going to put you here in this environment. You're born into wherever you're born into. And so what is going on around you is going to have some kind of an effect on you. And so the trauma can start very early on and then the trigger response from that very early on. And it's no one's fault. It's not their fault. If you didn't have someone to even offer you a different way, or really, if he'd come along maybe when you were 14,
it wouldn't have been the same. I needed to go through what I went through in order to be ready for him. That's that whole, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Because when he showed up, I was contemplating suicide again.
Wow.
Because I'm like, I don't want to fucking live my life the way a convicted felon normally lives their lives. Like, I'm way too pretty and dainty for fucking construction work. I'm horrible at manual labor. My first ex-wife had to teach me how to change a tire. So manual labor is not for me. So that's not going to work. Then I would get jobs at like fast food restaurants and you get paid $5.25 an hour, right? Because I'm old, right? So you get paid $5.25 an hour. And I'm just like, I don't want to live like this. I don't want to live on welfare or food stamps. There has to be a way for me to still live my dream life. And that's when entrepreneurism was introduced to me, but then coupled with personal development. And so the industry that I got introduced to was network marketing, right? MLM. They call MLM a personal development program with a compensation plan attached to it. So I spent 16 years in MLM. And that's why I learned to develop myself as a speaker and as a leader and as a mentor and as a coach. And that's why I went to all these conferences and got a chance to be in these different environments. Yeah, that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, and the teachers have appeared ever since.
And so it was down to timing as well. And isn't it funny that for me too, I'll just put my hand up here, I was rubbish at MLM. But,
I was too.
But I'm forever grateful because that was my introduction to self-development about 20 years ago. And okay, I didn't do what I'm sure they were hoping I was going to do and excel as their downline. However, without it, I wouldn't have gone in my direction. But isn't it annoying? I find it, I shouldn't be annoyed at it because that's a trigger. But that this stuff should be taught in schools because they're conditioned to end up working in a fast food restaurant if you haven't got the qualifications, if you didn't go to uni or college or whatever. That's your choice then, or what? Hospitality and earning absolutely zero. Yet everybody actually has the same opportunities, but they're just not aware of it, are they?
Right. I was mentored by Bob Proctor for a short period of time, and he said that the reason why someone is only earning $30,000 a year is because they're just unaware of how to earn $100,000 a year. Plus, they're just unaware. There's that famous quote, and I think it's by George Bernard Shaw, I think. And he says that 2% of people think, 3% of people think they think, 95% of people rather die than think. And that's the reason why it's so easy for very few in a society to control the rest. Because there's only a couple of people actually thinking. Everyone else is just reacting.
Yeah.
So you think about it, just there's only 2 people playing out of 10 people. There's only 2 people playing chess. Everyone else is playing checkers.
Yeah. So true. So true.
So,
or they're just distracted. We're so distracted. They've got
absolutely.
Netflix, they've got this, they've got that, they've got football teams, they've got this, they've got that. All stuff that people, they think they're enjoying it, but it's distracting them from being creative and doing something for themselves. Plus, they're overworked. So by the time they actually do get home, they just want to sit on the sofa and turn this rubbish on.
Absolutely.
Rather than spending it on investing in themselves. And that's, forget the money side of things for starters, but just investing their time in learning how they operate.
But they're even unaware. See, people who are asleep don't know they're asleep. When you're asleep, you don't even know, like I'm talking about literally lay down. You don't even know you fell asleep, and you don't know you're asleep until you wake up.
Yeah.
So you have to think about that consciously. Most people have no idea they're even asleep. So my favorite movie is The Matrix. I've watched it probably 6,000 times. I've developed a presentation around it. And one of the distinctions that I point out is, imagine being unplugged, right? So you know that the Matrix is the Matrix. But now imagine being plugged back in, and now you're running around the Matrix going, "You're in a program! You're in a program!" Right? "This is all fake. It's not real. You're being distracted. You're being used." And you look like the homeless guy on the corner fucking going bananas. Why? Because nobody has any idea what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, sure. You'd be locked up, put in a straitjacket.
Exactly. This is also the reason why Jesus spoke in riddles. If you take it to a biblical point, the disciples used to ask Jesus, hey, and I quote the Bible my own way, they used to ask Jesus, hey, why are you giving us riddles? Why you give them riddles and you give us just straight talk? And Jesus says simply, because they hard-headed. They're hard-headed. They're not ready for truth. So I tell them riddles, and those that want to work it out in their own mind, they work it out. They come to the conclusion, and if they want to know more, they'll come find me. Because the way human behavior works is that people don't believe something until they decide to believe it, and they only decide to believe it when they came to that conclusion themselves.
Oh, there it is. Yes. Absolutely. It's got to come from, you've got to know it yourself, haven't you? You've got to know it yourself.
It doesn't matter how many people tell you, and it doesn't matter how much evidence they produce. You have to come to that conclusion and work it out for yourself. So it doesn't matter how much we tell people, hey, you have potential. Hey, you have the ability to create what you want to create. Hey, we can say that all day. But if their minds, if their belief system does not agree with what you're saying, then you could present them cold, hard facts. But the filters that they're using they're not buying it. Because their life thus far has shared with them or shown them that's not true.
Yeah. Your mind likes to be right, doesn't it? So whatever you think, whatever you believe, it will give you that.
Absolutely.
And that is the toughest thing to help people come out of. They've got to do it themselves. So for you now, you're helping spread this. How would you present it in a way, say, even to your 14-year-old self, 12-year-old self, in a way that they would actually listen. For start, mind you, how many 14-year-olds listen to anybody? I'm not sure, including me. I don't think I did either. But yeah, because I do really feel that this is such a shame. When you do get it, you're like, why didn't anybody tell me this earlier? How do you get the youngsters to take this on board?
Chocolate covered carrots. Chocolate covered carrots. Here's what I mean.
Hide it.
You sell people what they want and then give them what they need.
Yeah.
There's the whole reason why attraction marketing works is because people naturally are materialistic. And especially when you look at Western culture, it's driven by materialism. So I call it the you ain't shit principle. I don't know if I can cuss on this podcast, so you can just leave it out. But it's called the you ain't shit principle. The way Western culture has conditioned all of us is you ain't shit until you make this much money. You ain't shit until you drive this kind of car. You ain't shit until you have this kind of job. You ain't shit until you have this kind of degree. You ain't shit until you're living this kind of life with these kind of friends on these kind of, you ain't shit until. So attraction marketing works because you're presenting the end result of what people believe success is. One of the things that attracts people to even coach with me is that they see that me and my wife travel around the world. And they're just like, oh my God, I want to live that kind of life. And I'm like, great, let's have a conversation. I'm going to show you how to live this life. But then once they get with me, I'm digging up all their shit. I'm making them deal with those past traumas. I'm making them deal with that belief system. I'm making them deal with those unuseful thoughts. I'm making them deal with those judgments they have against themselves and against their parents. I'm making them deal with that poor self-image. Why? Because that's the stuff that's blocking you from just doing what you already crave to do.
Oh, yeah. Music to my ears.
Chocolate
and that is just,
carrots.
Love it. I don't think I'd even be able to fool my kids with that one. But I never tried it. Yeah, that is, and I know we've spoken before about this subject because there's so much, this whole talk therapy. And I'm not dissing, whatever works. If it works.
Let's not do that. Fuck that.
Works.
Let's not do that.
But yeah, it's holding, isn't it? Holding people in that poor me. You're going over it and over it. And he did this and they did that. And then is it working? And if not, what's a better way?
First of all, there's a difference between coping and healing, right? Coping is like having a trash can full of shit sitting in your living room learning how to deal with the smell.
No one wants that. No one wants that.
Healing is getting butt naked, jumping in that trash can, cleaning it out with bleach and Fabuloso on a Saturday morning with Marvin Gaye playing and your mama standing behind you telling you missed the spot. That is healing. And then taking that clean trash can and then pushing it outside so that when you're done. But you have to also understand from a business standpoint, Western culture. Okay, I'm just talking about the States. The United States is not a country. The United States is a business.
So is the UK.
It's a business. Because the way we operate is if they'll buy it and you can sell it, it's cool to sell. That's why we have so much toxins in our food. We market all kind of crazy things. Because America's a business, that also includes the healthcare system.
Oh, we go down that road. I agree.
I'm not afraid to go there.
I agree.
That includes the healthcare system. There's no money in healing.
You're right.
Because where would all the money for cancer research go if a cure for cancer was found? Diabetes, heart disease, all of this stuff. We know that there's cures for these things. Dr. Joe Dispenza and Bruce Limpton, and you've got Dr. Sebi back that was down. And we've proven time and time again that there are cure for these things. There's a woman that can cure people of limp dick. Like that, she's right. And so there's
without the blue pill?
Blue pill. She literally shows guys how to get off the blue pill. She knows how to do it. And they've told her, if pharma ever found out you doing this, they're either buy you out or kill you. Why? Because there's no money in healing. There's only money in treatment and coping.
Yeah, so keeping you in it.
Absolutely. So you have to understand that our health system, both on the physical side and the mental side, was not built to fix. It was built to treat. That's why it doesn't work. That's why people go to therapy and are on the same loop-de-loop for 7 years talking about the same thing. Because it's, oh, how do you feel about that? Oh, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? My premise, especially when it comes to the inner child, is fuck your inner child. They're the problem. Your inner child needs to be put to bed. Because your inner child, because people say, I had this one woman, she said, Steve, shouldn't you validate the child's feelings? I said, hell no. She said, why? I said, because feelings are created from thoughts. So if I validate the feeling, then I'm validating the thought that caused the feeling, and the thought 9 times out of 10 is wrong. Because a child is narcissistic. A child is emotional. A child doesn't have logic. A child takes everything personal. So they don't have enough life experience and wisdom and perspective to make life decisions on what something means. Let me give you an example. I told the story about my dad showing up when I was 8 years old. Now, what I didn't share was my mother said she was dropping me off and coming back to pick me up at my grandmother's house. The next day, this guy shows up and says, you're coming to live with me. So how does an 8-year-old process this situation? For me, it was, oh, she lied to me. She gave me up. She rather choose the drugs over me. That developed a 20-year hatred for my mother. It also developed abandonment issues. And I mistreated and abused women for 20 years as a result of that. Because my little mind came up with never trust a woman who says she loves you. So if she says she loves you, she's going to leave. Why? Because as a kid, that is my first interaction with love. This is what love with a woman is. It's the interaction between me and my mother. So if she lied to me and gave me up, then any woman will do that. That is how an 8-year-old processes.
Yeah.
So 20 years later, I go through some deep work. Come to find out, that's where my abandonment issues came from. I wasn't even thinking of that consciously until I went through this deep work. And then that came up. I'm like, oh my God, that makes sense. So I went to my mom. I said, Mom, why you give me up? I said, that is the reason why I've had abandonment issues and I've treated you like dog shit for 20 years. Why you do that? All I wanted to do was be with you. Now, I'm sure y'all see Tyler Perry movies in the UK. So my mom was like Medea, right? Not Tyler Perry, not in the UK. Oh my God!
Well, I don't know. It might be. I don't watch telly.
He just bought BET and VH1, which is super dope. But anyway, there's these movies about this character Medea. She's a weed smoking, Bible quoting, gun toting. She'll cuss you out, pray for you, and steal your shit at the same time. That's my mom. So my mom, I'm telling her, I said, why you giving me up? And here's what she said. She said, boy, what the are you talking about? That didn't happen like that. I said, what do you mean? She said, and come to find out, her sister and my grandmother tracked my father down to convince him to take custody of me. He didn't have custody of any of his kids at that point. So they convinced him to take custody of me because they were tired of me being put in dangerous situations. So they convinced my father to take custody of me, had an entire family court thing without my mother's aware.
Wow.
So my mother never knew there was a family court hearing. So she didn't show up. And they automatically awarded my father custody. So then my grandmother, who testified on my father's behalf, called my mother to come drop me off and then called my father to come pick me up.
And all those years you had seen it another way.
I never knew that. And I only seen it through you left me.
Yeah.
So I realized in that moment, my abandonment issues were from a lie I told myself because I was too young to understand the situation. The reason why this is important is because I want you to imagine walking into a courtroom and the judge is 8 years old, the jury is 8 years old, the prosecutor is 8 years old, the eyewitness is 8 years old, and there's no defense attorney and no cross-examination.
Oh.
Yeah. This is how children are making decisions about their relationship with their parents every single day. It is unfair, it is unwise, and that's why I don't validate the child.
Right. But it's all unconscious.
Absolutely.
People are just not aware that is going on. And this is why they are just going about like zombies, really. They're just on autopilot and just reacting the same way they've reacted forever. And they're totally unaware as to the reasons why they are responding in that way.
They're grown-ass children in big people bodies.
Mind you, I'm still a kid and I refuse to grow up.
There's a difference between being childlike and childish, though.
True.
I'm childlike because the childlike qualities are, you know, it's funny. All personal development is trying to get you to go back to being childlike, forgiving, loving, adventurous, spontaneous, imaginative, going from immediate thought, from inspired thought to immediate action. Like, that's why there's that book, Everything That You Needed to Know to Succeed, You Knew by Kindergarten, right? Because that's true. All personal development is trying to get you back to the qualities that you already naturally have and that you were born with.
But it's conditioned, it's beaten out of us, isn't it? Through the school system.
Absolutely. It is 100% beaten out of us so that we can conform.
Yeah. And be a robot. Yeah, just be a little worker bee.
But
keep going to work, make enough money just so that you can pay the bills, but not too much because otherwise you might not come back on Monday. So we'll just keep you in this.
But here's where I play devil's advocate. How else do you control 8 billion people?
True.
Because imagine 8 billion people who all know at the deepest level that they are God reincarnated and that they can be, do, and have whatever they please, and they don't need anyone's permission or forgiveness.
They wouldn't pay tax.
What would the world look like? So there's this duality of...
But it's fear. But that's fear-driven. There is another way. There is another way.
I'm not saying this. I'm not saying there's not another way. But I'm telling you the reason why it's set up the way it's set up now is because for thousands of years, this is how we've been able to control populations. And this is how few people keep power.
Yeah.
Is through education. One of the coolest, craziest, humblest experiences I had being in Europe this past week. We went to London, Brussels, Paris, Italy, and Germany.
I love Italy.
Yeah, Rome is my. I think I was like Roman back in the day.
Amazing.
That is my spot right there. So to see how other countries view America was mind-blowing to me. What is their perspective of Americans? Right? France, they hate Americans. Oh my God, those people, they do not like us. They do not, because I ask, because I don't get offended. I just want to know, what is your perspective of Americans?
They don't like the Brits either, though, to be fair.
So I'm like, what is your perspective of Americans, right? I'm asking English people. I'm asking French people. I'm asking German people. I'm asking Swiss people. What is your perspective? It is a very different perspective of the perspective that we are told that we have in the world. We see commercials and it's like, America, the few, the proud, the Marines. We are the leader of the world. We are the savior. We are this. And then I'm asking other people from other countries, like, no, you guys are bullies. You fucking always in everybody else's business, right? Like, it's just, and I'm just like, oh my God. So when you think about controlling a population, education, through the education system, what we want you to learn, and then through propaganda of what on TV and radio is, this is how we want you to view yourself. So that's how you control a population.
Yeah, very true. Very true. But when you get into things like that, it's never against the people, is it? It's about the people in power. Like, people will hate the Brits just as much because we follow the Americans. So we still come and do stuff. So it's not against the people per se. We don't have control over, we'd like to have control over what our governments are doing and the decisions they're making. We're like, not in my name.
Yeah.
But yeah, there it is. But yes, so many people could be freed up.
Right.
Freed up if they were, number one, aware. You're right. It's the educate, and that's all you can do, though, isn't it? It's not going to be in. It's not going to be. It's never going to be in a school system. I would have thought. I'd hope so, but then you're not going to get worker bees. You're going to get a whole school load of entrepreneurs and nobody to do the giving you burgers.
In the United States, in the early 1900s, in the 1800s, most 80% of people were entrepreneurs. They were solopreneurs. It wasn't until the industrial age that in factories and stuff like that, that you started to be introduced to an 8-hour workday, a 40-hour work week. And that the exchange was, instead of you blacksmiths, instead of you carpenters, instead of you plumbers, instead of y'all trying to figure out how to make it on your own, we'll guarantee you work and pay if you trade this amount of time per week, per month. And if you give us this many years of dedicated service, then we'll pay you out this for the rest of your life. That was the trade. So by the time the mid-1900s came along, 80% of the country was employed. Why? Because of that guaranteed money.
I suppose they had to stop this because possibly then, not that I'm a historian or anything, but does that coincide with sort of the ending of the slave trade? Because they were starting to have problems. So hang on, come in and reframe it. Well, we've got you this house. So if you come and live in this house that we've built you, and now we can pay your wage. They realised they were losing their worker bees. So people don't realise that the slave trade didn't end. It just got repackaged.
Oh, 100%.
And you lot.
100%. That's why they call it golden handcuffs. But it's also, again, everything is duality. When people are trying to figure out how to make their money, that slows down the economy because most people are not good entrepreneurs. So now that you have this manufacturing explosion and people have regular income, right? Now they're going to spend, and that makes the economy work, right? So there's this duality. But this is also the reason why I say the world is as it should be, because that's the way we want it. And that's a really hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, that's just like...
But the world is as it should be because that's the way we want it, because that's the way we allow it to be.
Yes, we all have a choice at the end of the day, but only if you are aware. Go back to that.
Absolutely.
So you talk about you can design and live the life that you want.
Absolutely.
Okay, Steve, where do you start?
First, you start by deciding what is the lifestyle I live. The life that me and my wife live, and I'm not saying this is easy. It's simple. It's easy. I'm sorry. It's simple, but it's not easy.
Not easy.
Okay. And I'm going to explain why. The life that my wife and I live today, we literally sat down and designed. Okay. What do we want to do with our lives? Our number one value in life is travel and adventure. That's our number one value, experiences. How often do we want to travel? And where do we want to travel to? And at what level do we want to travel? Do we want to travel coach? Do we want to travel first class? Do we want to stay in just Airbnbs, or do we want to go to 5-star resorts? How do we want to travel? So that was number one, breaking that down, right? Number two, where do we want to live? Where do we want our base home to be? What do we want that to look like? What kind of cars do we want to drive? What type of food do we want to eat? We literally designed our life as if we were creating anything.
Whatever you want.
Anything you want, right?
But people are too afraid to even dream.
Absolutely, because their dreams are beat out of them. But this podcast, this episode is called How to Design Your Life. So I'm going to show you how to do it. But then I'm also going to tell you what's getting in your way of doing it, right? So once we decide what life we want to live, then we need to figure out how much money will it take to live that life. Because the challenge is that most people get a job and then figure out what kind of life they can live based on that salary.
Yep.
My thing is go to reversal. The reverse. Design the life first on a piece of paper, then figure out how much money you need to earn to live that life, and then go look at the industries that allow you to earn that kind of income and have flexibility and time freedom. Now, what's going to get in your way is doubt, worry, and fear. But I want you to understand this, and this goes back to everything that we were just talking about. Doubt is not a reflection of your potential. Doubt is a reflection of how you've been trained to behave. Because how you've been trained to behave is telling you what's possible and not possible, what you can do, what you can't do, what's right, what's wrong, what's right versus left. That conditioning in those first 14 years of your life, 85% of what you believe is possible, not possible. What you can do, can't do. What you deserve, don't deserve. All of you decided by the time you were 14. Those first 14 years shaped the rest of your life. That's the reason why when dictators take over countries, the first thing they go after is the elementary schools. Why? Because that's how they maintain longevity of their regime, is by getting it into the kids. The adults, they fearmonger, but the kids, they indoctrinate.
Yeah,
that's how they maintain. So the conditioning of what is a good life and what is a great life, what is honorable, what is not, all of that, you were indoctrinated with by the time you were 14. So the only thing that will keep you from living the life that you desire is all of the shit that you were taught and indoctrinated with. But here's the challenge. Most people will never challenge what they were taught, even though their experience is telling them that there's something different, right? Like, for instance, people can't be born gay. Your experience will tell you very differently, right? When you have, my mother was gay. My best friends are gay. My brother was gay. They all knew that they were gay in elementary school, right? All of them. Manatees are gay, and male seahorses can have babies. So why not? Here's my point. If your experience tells you that what you were taught was wrong, but most people will never turn around and tell their teachers, hey, I don't agree with what you showed me. Why? Because out of respect. So they'll maintain the lie over their experience in order to avoid telling their teachers that they were wrong.
Okay, I hadn't thought of it from that point of view. Yeah. People are too afraid to challenge anything, unfortunately. Again, it's about questioning. They don't question the system that's been going on for centuries. They don't even question themselves.
Well, they did when they were children.
And
children
they got told
everything.
Don't answer back, or
don't question me. Don't answer. Don't talk back. right?
Because I said so.
Because I said so. So they naturally come out curious, and then that curiosity is beat out of them.
There be it. Be curious. You got to be more curious. Ask more questions.
Yes. So isn't it interesting how personal development is literally geared to take you back to being what Jesus said, childlike again. The kingdom of heaven, which is just living an amazing life, not a place you need to go to, but just a way of being and operating in the world, exists inside of you. But in order to enter it, you must become childlike again.
My goodness.
Go
yes,
back
I haven't
to who
heard
you
it.
were before the world indoctrinated you. You had the right answers. You had the right way of being when you were 4, 5, 6 years old. That was the right way of operating.
Wow.
And
there you
everything,
go.
all these conferences, all these coaches, all of these books that you're reading, these seminars you're going to, these online courses that you're buying, all of that is to teach you how to be what you already are.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? It's always, we overcomplicate. Look, I know, and I do this a lot. I overcomplicate things, and then I backtrack and I simplify again. I don't know why I overcomplicate in the beginning, but every single time, it's the simple things that work.
Yeah.
We, again, I suppose as adults, maybe that's ego. Can't be that simple. Let's overcomplicate again and make us look important because we've done this. Actually, it's always the simple things. Keep it simple. But like you said, you said quite early on about things are simple doesn't mean it's easy to do because of all that conditioning. Like you said about the Matrix, I've always said, really, I just want somebody to come in and plug me in, download all the crap, and then upload a new uploaded. Wouldn't that be simpler? But we can do that, can't we?
Yes. The challenge with shifting your belief system, because everything comes down to your belief system, is that beliefs are like children. You birth them, therefore you'll die for them. Right? A belief is just a strong emotion attached to an idea. It's not a fact. But this is also the reason why when you attack people's ideas, you get all of the emotion. Because most people have no idea why they believe what they believe. But a belief is just an emotion attached to an idea. So I attack the idea, I get all of the emotion, and I'm like, why do you believe that? And they're like, because that's what I was taught. And that's the best answer they can come up with. Because when they ask enough questions, they'll ask them, because the minute they ask 3 questions towards their belief, they already start to deconstruct the belief. Here's the challenge with that. I built my entire life based on this belief system. So if I start to unravel it, then I start to feel lost. I start to feel that I'm someone with no direction. I feel like my entire life has been a lie. Then if this belief isn't true, then who am I? That kind of identity crisis people will avoid at all costs. So they rather keep the belief that's not serving them, because at least it's the devil versus devil you don't.
Yeah, the fear of the unknown.
Absolutely.
Gotta be comfortable. It's okay. And it's okay not to know. I love the fact that these days, especially people like you mentioned, Joe Dispenza earlier. Yeah, love him. I do my blessing of the energy centers most mornings and evenings. But the idea that, and I know you said about people, even when it's proved to them, but I do think things are changing because of people like this that are saying, here's the proof. Look at the readings of the energy in the room. This is happening.
Yeah.
Science is now, Newtonian physics has been dropped. Go away. It's fact. Quantum physics isn't just a conspiracy theory. It is happening. This is how it is. And if you do want to change, then, man, if it's not working for you, I just don't get the thought process. If it's not worked for you up to now, is it not worth just, giving it a go? Give it a go. See if you, like you said, right at the beginning. You've got to, it's not but what you tell. You've got to give it a go to prove to yourself, to see the changes. And then
that is going from believing to knowing. Because here's the thing. I tell this to coaches all the time. Stop trying to change the world. Stop. Stop. Just stop. And let me tell you why. See, I'm very counterintuitive to what most people are out there preaching because they're not paying attention. First of all, between Jesus, Buddha, and Muhammad, the three largest spiritual leaders ever to live, between the three of them, they've only touched about a couple billion people. Over 3,000 years. Okay? To the idea that you'll get everyone to think the same way. 8 billion different perspectives, 8 billion different ways of living, 8 billion different ways of seeing things and belief systems and growing up and 8 billion different experiences. You're not going to get everybody to see the same way, first of all.
No.
So stop trying to save the whole world because that's not, or change the whole world because that's not going to happen. Your only job during your little lifespan is to live a life so fucking inspiring, which means focusing on yourself.
Yeah.
Because I know so many coaches who are broke spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and financially because all of their energy is focused on trying to change someone else. When they're using that as an excuse not to deal with their own shit. So they're wounded healers.
But again, that isn't that down to conditioning because in some people's perception, that's selfish to focus on you. We've been conditioned to not take time on ourselves, to not spend time on ourselves. No, get up and go to work. No, actually, I want to stay and focus on me. But we've been conditioned to that. That's selfish, as though selfish is a negative. Being selfish has a negative connotation. But really, self-care is actually number one. You can't give from an empty cup, and all those quotes come out. You can't. It's got to be you first. Because, like you say, worry about, do you know what? Everybody just chill out. Everybody chill out. Worry about your own stuff. Focus on you. And if everybody did that, the world would be a better place because nobody can do anything. I truly believe this. Nobody can do anything bad to another human being if they are not in a happy place. If they are in a happy place.
That's why I call the Ten Commandments daycare rules.
It's pretty.
Think about it. Like, how much common sense? Don't kill nobody. How much that's common sense.
Isn't it? Right? Don't do unto others. If you don't want it done to yourself, don't do it to them.
Common sense. But why did God even have to give people rules? Why? Because they're a bunch of fucking kids.
Unhappy kids.
Yes, absolutely. Unhappy and ungrateful kids.
Yeah.
So you got to give them rules not to hurt each other. Like when you go within yourself and you recognize yourself at a deep level, you have no reason to hurt anybody else because you recognize that everybody else spiritually are just different configurations
of you. Love it.
They're different configurations of you. It's the same emotions, same brain, same mind, same universal laws, same tools, and every single person you meet is a version of you in a different life.
Yes.
It's not different mindset or tools or different consciousness. It's a different arrangement of consciousness.
Oh man, I love the way you explain it. Yes, totally agree. 100%.
You have no reason to hurt yourself.
You wouldn't. There you go. You just wouldn't. It's impossible. But it's the fear of well, they might want to go off and hurt each other. No, they wouldn't if they were happy. So get happy, raise their vibration, and you get rid of everything. Done. If the kids were taught this, that's dealt with in one generation where we've spent the last 3,000 years. But like you say, it's never going to happen all over the world. Too many people, too many different parents putting that on them.
Jesus couldn't change the whole world. Jesus touched 2 billion people in 3,000 years. So and that's what...
Who do you think you are?
That's what whole ass governments promoting him, right? So with whole ass governments and the Catholic Church being the largest real estate holder in the world, with all of that, Jesus still only touched 2 billion people. So who the fuck do you think you are?
Yeah, ego. Ego. Get out of your own way. Stop all that. Focus on yourself. Man, it's exhausting, isn't it? It doesn't have to be so exhausting. Focus on you. It's okay to spend time and a bit of self-care. It all comes from you.
And he even said, when you take the speck out your own eye, then you'll be able to see the speck in your brother's eye. Why? Because you're the same. But you got a speck in your eye trying to take the speck out of their eye, but now you triggered because they're triggered, and now...
Oh, my, I love the way you explain. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. And yes, look, I could speak to you. Look, oh my God, we're running out of time. Yeah. I could speak to you for hours. This is, greatly put. Love it. So before we get to the end of the show, for anybody who's watching, this is all out on social media or YouTube if you're watching the video. But if it's on the podcast or the radio, you're there just listening to you. And they're being very well entertained, I reckon. And they've learned something, more importantly. So if they're like, how do they find you, Steve? How do they get in touch?
SteveBacon.com. Everything is there.
There you go. Simple.
CoachSteveBacon.com.
Oh.
CoachSteveBacon.com. It's all there. My social media handles, our programs, about me, a blog, everything that you need to know about who am I, what I stand for, the people I've helped, how can I help you? It's all there.
Awesome. So I know that you again, don't listen to everybody. You don't have to have a micro niche. You're helping pretty much whoever needs help.
I'm looking for Neos. I'm Morpheus and I'm looking for Neos. I'm looking for the people who want to live a life without borders or boundaries. I'm looking for people who want to live a life where they design it and create the world in their image. I'm looking for people who are satisfied but still hungry, who are grateful but not done, right? I'm looking for people who want to milk life for every fucking thing it has to offer. I'm looking for people who want autonomy over their life, who want to go where they want, do what they want, be what they want, and not have to ask anyone for permission or forgiveness. I'm looking for people who want to create a legendary life. And what a legendary life is, it's a 10 in every area of life. Your relationship is a 10. Your finances are a 10. Your relationship with your kids are a 10. Your spirituality is a 10. Your personal growth is a 10. Your health is a 10. That's a legendary life, and it is possible. So this idea that you can't have it all is bullshit. You can have it all. And that's the people that I'm looking for. The ones who want to have it all.
And that's to control again. That's just to know you're not allowed to have it all. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. You can have your cake and eat that sumbitch too.
Yay!
And I know from experience, not just from some book I read. My life is amazing, and I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that as a testimony. From everything you heard about what I went through as a kid growing up, my relationship with my dad is amazing. My relationship with my mom before she passed is amazing. My relationship with my wife is amazing. I do $500,000 a year. That's more than I've ever dreamed of making an income. I'm an author of 2 books, and I have to use Grammarly every time I fucking send a text because I can't spell for shit. I failed English class, right? So my spirituality, my connection to God is a 10. So what I'm saying is that this is heaven. This is heaven. But that only comes with dealing with your shit. Taking the speck out of your own eye.
Acceptance. Just, isn't it? It's just, you've got to accept what is. It is what it is what it is. It was what it was. You can't change it. But yeah, everybody's so intent on going back there and going over it again. Yeah. Moaning about it again. And I'm not
keeping it alive. They're keeping it alive. That's part of transformation, right? But misery loves company because people keep it alive. They keep talking about it. I choose to talk about the transformation. I choose to talk about how good things are. That doesn't mean that I don't take an L every now and again. I just don't acknowledge it as an L. I just acknowledge it as an opportunity to learn something. I'm always winning. I never lose. I either win or learn. But I'm always talking about my learning so that I can keep them alive so my life continues to progress.
Love that. And really, all that is just change your perspective. Nothing's changed.
The subtitle of the belief theory is change your perspective, change your life.
Oh.
Because that's all it is. When I help people heal in hours, what takes them years in therapy, we're not changing the event. We're changing their perspective of the event. That's it. The meaning that they created about it is all that mattered. And most of the time, when people are going through their childhood stories, they realize how much of their childhood stories are made up in their head. Not saying that what happened to them didn't happen. The reasons why you thought they happened, that's what you made up. And that's what's creating the hell that you are experiencing, is the made up shit. So we go back and we change those perspectives. And so you can see, oh my God, my whole life has been a lie. Yeah, these things happened to you. I really was molested. That happened. But why I was molested, what that means about me, all of that is shit I made up in my head after the fact.
Yeah.
And it's that stuff that was creating the hell that I was experiencing, not the event itself.
Yeah. So there's no need to suffer. It is a form of self-harm, isn't it? It's a form of self-harm.
Unnecessary. And especially religious people teaching, it's about suffering. For what? For why? What is the point of that?
Why would God want you to suffer? It's just crazy. It's a crazy idea.
Do you want your kids to suffer?
No.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's unconditional love.
Because man has made God in their image, not the other way around.
Hey.
The attributes that men assign to God is that to more of a tyrant king than it is a loving father.
That's a man. Yeah, that's an ego-driven man.
We cannot be more emotionally intelligent than the creator of all things. Yeah. So if I don't want my son to suffer, then why would my creator want me to suffer?
Yeah,
it makes no sense. No. And all you got to do is ask 2 or 3 questions and you start to see the bullshit in the dogma.
Love it. We could go on. I'm going to have to get you back.
But I have another meeting.
Thank you for your time today. That's been fun. I knew it was going to be fun. And to the rest of you, I will be back on Thursday with the Coffee with Karen. So bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.
The Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical, and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.